Thank you so much, ADG. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, the chairperson, the acting chairperson of the South African Post Offices, the Deputy Minister of the Department of Communications and Technologies in absentia, and the staff of the department is led by the Acting Director General. Good afternoon. We meet here once more on a time that we couldn't be together at the same place. When I came on board, I asked how many journalists do we have and how many media houses. And Mish had to tell me, Minister, you remember that we have COVID and therefore we have others connecting virtually. And yes, it is because of the environment that we find ourselves in. Meeting at an opportune time wherein we can't be greeting each other, but most importantly, on a platform that we say our people must rely on television, rely on the digital platforms for them to get access to information. And this is the reality that we are faced with as the world, not only South Africa. Last year, we came here as the department to give account and explain to the nation in terms of our plans following President Ramaphosa's establishment of a new department, which is known as the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies. In that press conference, we shared with you, fellow South Africans, on the work that we intend to do, and as we explained, that the newly reconfigured department has to follow the mandate that has been given by President Ramaphosa, and that mandate being one to coordinate and lead the fourth industrial revolution in South Africa. That therefore forced us, as we announced last year, to say, if we are to implement the president's call in terms of ensuring that we lead and coordinate the fourth industrial revolution in South Africa, it tells you that we've got to tamper with the structure of the department that we have, including the portfolio organizations. And we said we'll therefore be reconfiguring, including state-owned entities that we had. I made reference to the fact that we're doing everything online now because of the environment that we find ourselves. And I did make reference to the fact that it is not only South Africa, but the world which has found itself having to ensure that it converges from all platforms in order to provide services that our people must enjoy. Of course, at the center of that is putting people. Most people have tended to focus on the economy and everything, but our approach as ANC government was to say, how do we make sure that as we're looking at saving lives, but we're also looking at the livelihoods of the lives that we would have saved. The first call that we had to make when President Ramaphosa indicated that South Africa will also have to follow path in terms of going for a lockdown in order to minimize the impact of the spread, the first thing was to make sure that as the department that's at the center of driving the uptake of digital technologies, we create an enabling environment for people to work. Because as much as we're on lockdown, we needed to make sure that we have not only a stable, but a productive state that should be able to do work the way it's supposed to do. That's why we announced on the ministerial directives that we issued. And key to those was enabling remote working, which all of you have found expression on. That you are able to broadcast, you're able to report on the stories, and South Africans have been able to access services, including education, online. And that was the work that had to be championed by the department that is responsible for the regulation of the digital technologies that we're talking about, including ensuring that there will be access to connectivity, because we may be talking about all these platforms, but if the capacity of the mobile operators could not be able to carry out the traffic, we would have collapsed as the country. I want to upfront thank the industry for responding very positively when we made those announcements. We called upon themselves to avail free services as an intervention to COVID and South Africans. Indeed, as you know, we were able to get lots of the platforms zero rated, but on top of that, we were able to get the industry being able to provide technical support to government, the Department of Science and Innovation, Department of Health, in terms of the work and the expertise that we have in the industry that we are responsible for. And that also spoke to the issues of the technologies that needed to be introduced. Hence, you listen to President Ramaphosa, who then announced to the country in terms of the COVID app that was there and developed. And it is because of the collaboration that we have with the industry. That did not say it is a government's responsibility. The industry that made it their responsibility in understanding that everything that has to happen around the department or the industry that we are responsible for. Again, in the announcements that we made last year, is that we were going to establish, actually we were saying we had established the Presidential Fourth Industrial Revolution Commission, which was appointed by President Ramaphosa. We reported to the country that they've started with their work, and indeed I'm proud to stand here and say the report has been gazetted. Cabinet has approved the report, and President, as the chairperson, has confirmed and signed off the document that is a blueprint of South Africa. And as I talk about that, the blueprint of South Africa, to say how do we then identify our own niche in this era that we are in. In most cases, colleagues that have been taking platform on, you will remember that I've been saying it is high time that South Africa becomes the inventor of technologies and not continue as a consumer of technologies. And the blueprint document that has been produced by the commissioners talk to those. It has identified, I'll just make mention of the key 8 priorities that they said it is important for the country to focus on, both government, private sector, and civil society. And amongst those is the investment in human capital. I did say that we had taken a conscious decision not only on COVID response, but also to say how do we then help South Africans leverage on the fourth industrial revolution. And we said ours is not about technology, but ours is about the people that must therefore utilize these technologies in order to change their social and economic status. So the need to invest in human capital was identified by the Commission. The second one is the establishment of an artificial intelligence institute. You may be asking, why did we choose to highlight artificial intelligence amongst other 4IR technologies that are there? But we have learned, and the Commission is convinced, that one of the key drivers of the fourth industrial revolution, looking at the socio-economic intent that we want to achieve in South Africa, the challenges that we go through, that it would make sense for us to build capability around that artificial intelligence, and therefore to have an institute that we would know that not only South Africans have access to it, but also other African states can benefit, including the private sector that will be deploying these technologies. The other component is the establishment of a platform of advanced manufacturing. Amongst the things that we're talking about is the need to reindustrialize the electronics industry. We are talking of jobs that are being lost right now as we are faced with COVID, but we are saying, as much we are saying COVID has destabilized us, but as the people in the technology space, we are saying COVID has helped us to leapfrog directly to the digital society that we're talking about, which is the basis of the fourth industrial revolution. And when we say that, it says what opportunities, therefore, that we can navigate and invest on in order to change the economy of the country whilst leveraging on the 4IR. And key to that is manufacturing of the technologies that must be produced in South Africa. So it's important that we establish this platform for advanced manufacturing. Most people have asked, does it mean that the department seeks to come up with new structures at all when we make these interventions? We have said because our responsibility is not only to lead but also to coordinate the fourth industrial revolution. And that means we are not the ones that are doing all this work. Ours is to say, what does CSIR have? What does DTIC have? And other components, what does the private sector have? And therefore, how to bring all of those together in order to make sure that we can have a coordinated approach so that we can execute effectively and be able to trace impact. And key to that, as we have had at some point about a 3D student that produced an ear of a person. Actually, if I were to talk about our own interventions, the students that we had trained at UJ on 3D printing, one of them came up with an artificial leg when a parent was hit by a car and they could not afford to buy that. And these are the interventions that we are saying, if we're able to provide these skills, because at the center of manufacturing, at the center of ensuring that South Africans can really uptake these technologies is making sure that they have the know-how on how to produce technologies. That is why we offer those training programs that I'll be talking about. So we really want to establish that and invest in that. And the other thing, as we're talking about this, we always say the new oil in this environment that we operate in is data. And people have had the excitement of being on all the platforms, just like you have seen myself being hacked on WhatsApp, because people understand the importance of having access to data that they can use against or for the betterment of the person's life. That also talks to the platforms that people operate in, the technologies that they use, that is important as government, that we create a secure environment for that data, but most importantly to make sure that this data can be used for commercial purposes, including innovation by small businesses, entrepreneurs. So we want to make sure that we create that platform to secure and avail data to enable innovation and help government improve on planning, because it is true that data that is mined and collected, that we're able to invite data analytics, as we have seen them now assisting on COVID. We invite data scientists to come and do what they're supposed to do and help government's response to be practical and responsive. The other one is to incentivize future industries, platforms and applications of 4IR technologies. I made reference to this earlier when I was talking about the 3D, but I spoke of the platform earlier on. But now we also saying, in most cases in South Africa, as I said, we are the consumer of technologies. We do not have tablets that are produced in this country. We do not have TV sets that are produced in this country. We do not have camera phones, as you all have cameras that you have there that are produced in. We don't have software that is produced in South Africa. Now I'm going to scare you a little bit. What would happen as we all see what's happening in the world, witnessing the trade wars between the East and the West, and with the stance and the usage of the Chinese technologies by our telcos in South Africa and all telcos, which provide the platform for us to be able to utilize the 4IR technologies? What would happen if then the West would wake up and say, because your telcos in South Africa, they continue to utilize the Chinese technologies, therefore we are calling upon all the American companies to back off from South Africa? That would mean that people will not get their salaries. That would mean all the systems that we are using will not be functional because the software that we use is not South African produced. So we are saying it's high time that we invest in those so that when that time comes, we're able to say, as South Africa, not only for economic benefit, but also and the regulator that we had then was focusing on a specific aspect. We had broadcasting on the other side. What we are seeing with the fourth industrial revolution technologies is the convergence of all these technologies to one platform. If I'm talking about a car now, a car is a data center, because as you log into your car in terms of the direction that you are going to, you're able to connect on your Wi-Fi, and therefore everything happens right in your own car. You're able to, at your own home, you're able, with security services in terms of the alarm systems, you're able to log and check in your Mtata house what is happening. And these are the things that are enabled by the fourth industrial revolution technologies, which require more infrastructure, and therefore the legislation to make those accessible to make those available to people is very important, but also to make sure that they can protect the rights of the citizens as they utilize those technologies. So it's important that we're going to be focused on that. That's what the 4IR report at the center has. Key to this, because people have said, we've seen you government, you've came up with great strategies, great plans, but when it comes to implementation, you're so bad. We have said ours is to make sure that we establish a project management office which is manned with experts from the different fields of the fourth industrial revolution, in order to make sure that they will be the ones that that monitor and coordinate the implementation of the work that we are talking about, to make sure that we're not just coming with rhetoric that will not find expression in changing people's lives. And key to that, again, is the collaboration, not only between the PMO and the stakeholders, but the collaboration amongst all bodies in South Africa, be it the judiciary, be it the legislative arm and government, to work together in appreciating the environment that we are operating in. As I spoke about the infrastructure, most of you have been reporting and hammering on this minister. She's been there. We've been talking spectrum. There's delays. Even when the minister came to explain that I have issued the policy and the policy direction, and according to the law, my role ends there. But people have continued to say, Minister, your job is not done because the spectrum is not licensed yet. As you may know, we had appointed the Usaasa councillors, and proud now to announce, as you already know, that they have issued the ITA. Indeed, they had followed what the policy and the policy direction was saying, in terms of ensuring that when they introduce the ITA, they go together, that of one which seeks to deal with the challenges of the past, or the imbalances, to give an opportunity to new entrants, and also those that would want to participate at service-based levels, as we're not only looking at infrastructure level only. So they've issued the ITA, both ITAs, that of the high demand spectrum on international mobile technologies, and of course that of WAN. For the first time, fellow South Africans, in the history of the democratic government, I'm not going to talk about what happened prior, we are seeing the regulator in the ITA being clear in terms of empowerment of black people in our country, which is something most people have hammered us for, to say it's been 26 years, but in this sector we have not seen transformation. Even after we issued the policy direction, people still were not confident that the authority will be able to come up with interventions that seek to say, indeed, it is high time that we change the status quo. It is high time that we empower people that must be empowered. And we really welcome that bold move by the authority, as I said, for the first time. Now the onus is up to the BBBEE ICT Sector Council, which I'm also pleased to announce that they will be publishing their 4-year strategic plan in order to align with the changes indicated in the ITA, which is the invitation to apply. And of course, key to the ITA, if you may have missed it, is the fact that the authority goes to an extent of saying those that will be applying, they must make sure that they meet their level 1 BE status, and not only to meet once, but they are saying meet that level BBBE1 status for the duration of your license. That means if you have gotten spectrum and the license that you have is for 10 years for you to be operational, for 10 years we expect you to respect that the black people of this country need to be empowered, and you must remain on that level BE1 status. I won't be surprised if others would want to fight it, but I want to ascertain one thing, that will stand with the regulator on this one, because it is our responsibility to make sure that the policies and the regulations that we develop also serve the interest of the public. I made mention of the key 8 points that were identified, the recommendations from the Commission, which talk to human capacity development. I have said this, ladies and gentlemen, we announced the training of 50,000 young people on data science and related skills. on top of the 700 that we'll be training. And this we are doing simply because we want to showcase that although we are not a department responsible for training, we are a department that must make sure that people are digitally transformed and therefore they're able to utilize their technologies, not only for consumption purposes, but also to generate an economic spin-off. That's why we showcased with that. That's the program that's driven by our training institute, NEMISA. And of course, the MICT CETA came on board to partner with ourselves. As I unpack again, on us, coming up with efforts and initiatives to make sure that we lead this fourth industrial revolution in South Africa, we, through Cabinet, passed the Audio and Audiovisual Content Services Policy Framework, which has been gazetted, and it really received lots of feedback and positive responses by our people in order to make sure that our industries remain relevant in the sector, and therefore we're able, including the broadcasters that are here, they're able to utilize their platform to be OTTs, and therefore a clear regulation on that should be established. We are, of course, again, and under this, we had made sure that there's a driving force in terms of a clear path in saying what kind of skills, as we talk about the human capital development and the future of work in South Africa in the fourth industrial revolution. And key to that is understanding the terrain that you operate in. And that means doing an analysis of the skills gap that you have in the country, and that we have done. The Cabinet has approved the National Digital Skills Strategy, which will be enforced and implemented by all that are responsible to do so. Again, I am proud to announce that as we reported that we seek to, or we intend to establish a digital infrastructure company, a state digital infrastructure company, through the merger of BBI and Sentech. The business case has been finalized. Now we are awaiting the processes, because unfortunately they do not end with us only in the department. We're awaiting cabinet processes and parliament processes where we need to make certain amendments in the legislations in order for that to be realized. And Sentech has committed even last week in their AGM that was held. The second one, of course, was that we spoke about of restructuring Usaasa and USAF to be a digital development challenge fund. And again, the business case is about to be concluded. Consultations with treasury are ongoing. And these colleagues and fellow South Africans, if you recall, we had said there's lots of young people who are innovating in South Africa, but they do not have access to funding. Hence, we said it's important as the department that we create that platform, that they must therefore have access to this fund on the key things that we'll be talking about. We then came to the one that seems to be very sexy these days, that of unbundling the post bank and the post office, and to make sure that we corporatize the post bank. And again, I'm proud to stand here and report that the process of corporatizing the post bank is now at cabinet level. Following then, it will go to parliament, but already the amendments that needed to be made on the money bill were made through the Portfolio Committee of Finance, led from a departmental side, Treasury, and it's just now to make amendment in terms of who must be the bank controlling company. As when we unbundled Post Bank and Post Office, it was realized that we cannot have the Post Office being the bank controlling company of Post Bank because of its financial status. And therefore, we had to take a decision that the department must therefore be the bank controlling company, which is why it requires the amendment. Progress, as I said, is now at cabinet level, and we will be dealing with the rest of the stuff that's coming out as I proceed with my presentation. We also made reference to the fact that if we are to drive digital transformation in South Africa, we've got to make sure that we establish a digital services agency. And we said amongst our portfolio, when we looked in the portfolio organizations that we have CETA, the state IT agency, which has been acting as a procurement agency. And we said it's high time that we focus on CETA being the Digital Services Agency, and the department is working with CETA on making sure that the legislation indeed is finding expression and amended. Colleagues, I'm talking about reconfigurations, measures of entities in order to respond to the new mandate that President gave us. Key to that is to ensure that the process becomes a smooth process, that we do not wait for the entities to come and give reports to us quarterly as is required by the law. We've got to make sure that on a day-to-day basis, we understand where we need to intervene. We have since established a joint oversight forum to commence the implementation of the measures, which will be chaired from my office in the ministry, and the Director General of the department will be the Secretariat of this PMO, and the joint the joint oversight forum will be comprised of the chairpersons of the entities of the affected institutions, the CEOs, the CFOs, and a number of board members that the boards will agree on. And this is meant to make sure that as we work towards the reconfiguration, it is smooth, whether you need the departmental intervention is done on time, and any other intervention that is required. I want to emphasize here, the Joint Oversight Forum will not replace the mandate of the boards that must provide oversight over governance of the entities they are responsible for. But they will be solely looking at the processes of the merger to make sure that indeed as we reconfigure, things are done properly and they will be done within the required time, as we understand that we have to respond to President Ramaphosa's call once more of building a leaner state, but that is capable. So it's meant to do that, not to replace anything that exists there. We have explained this to all the boards that are affected to say this is what is happening, and then awaiting them to submit the names. Key to this again, colleagues, I just want to give feedback to the work that has been done by the entities. We said we have 11 entities that under our portfolio, and I want to report that they've been doing so well. We want to commend not only the boards, but the management of those entities in ensuring that we even get audits that are qualified, but most importantly, that things are running smoothly, even though there's noise against them. Amongst these entities that we really need to focus on as we commend and putting our trust in the management and the boards is SABC. That last time when we came here, we were talking about the issue of the funding of SABC, the bailout fund that we spoke about. Indeed, that has been issued. We do trust that the SABC management and the board will make sure that indeed SABC remains commercially viable and relevant. That's all we can do. We're not going to go and do work for SABC. SABC management, SABC board will play their own part. And as a shareholder representative, ours is to provide daily support to the areas they need support on, and that we commit to do. The second entity, again, that has been troubled, the post office, that many of you may have read in the media that at times they can pay salaries and everything else that has been written, whether true or false. I have brought people who must speak on their, not on their behalf, but people who are post office themselves. I am the minister for 11 entities, and I can't go on operations of what happens in the 11 entities. Mine is to provide a political direction and make sure that the policy creates an enabling environment for those that are mandated to lead these institutions. The post office, with its challenges, I'm pleased to report that we have appointed or replaced the board members that had resigned. Now we have a fully functional, except for one that we are awaiting the union to submit a name. But those that are expected from our side have been appointed, and we wish them all the best as they continue to drive or steer the ship that they have there. And we are also proud to say we have appointed the CFO as recommended by the Post Office Board. They did inform me that they are finalizing the recruitment of the CEO, which is their process, but the law stipulates that the minister has to approve. And when they make the submission, the minister will then consider that and look at everything that it's supposed to be looked at in relation to the powers that the minister will have. We have also seen the need to work together in terms of addressing the challenges that we are faced with, not only as the department, but together with our portfolio organizations. You may have taken note that I said we have 11 entities that we are responsible for, and I've spoken of troubled ones. I mentioned 2. And then the third one that I'm about to mention is Usaasa, that is responsible for the procurement of the digital migration process that program that everybody talks about. And even there, we are pleased to report that work has commenced with Sentech being appointed to be the project manager. And we are still sticking our guns to say the deadlines for digital migration, December 2021, we have to make sure that people are migrated, for both those that we are subsidizing and those that we are not subsidizing. And we call upon the industry, as we have engaged with them and they've committed to supporting this call. Because we may be putting deadlines, but if the industry is not ready, then these deadlines will not be met. We do not produce IDTVs, neither do we produce installers, neither do we produce set-top boxes, but we make the policy and make sure that we avail resources, and that we commit to do. And therefore, this is an opportunity for our industry to make sure that as Usaasa and SABS finalize their standards as requested by the industry, then they will fast-track the process of manufacturing these devices that must be available to our people. We are cognizant of the fact that any delay in the digital migration will cost us that we spoke about earlier in terms of the spectrum release. They go together. The spectrum that is being occupied by the broadcasters, the 700 megahertz, is what the industry, the telcos industry require in order to make sure that they can deploy the infrastructure that they need to deploy accordingly. So we are working hand in hand with our industry to say where can we partner and collaborate to make sure that digital migration becomes a success. I have been made aware that at Usaasa there are officials that have been suspended due to some investigations that were conducted by the agency in relation to corrupt activities that link to the set-top boxes. Details will be provided by the agency themselves. As I said, I don't get involved at operational levels, but I have been informed that, Minister, we did an audit, and in the audit there are mishaps and we have acted accordingly. All we can say is to say we hope that you have a strong case as Usaasa, but also you will follow the legal processes in undertaking whatever decisions and actions that you have undertaken. Let me now turn briefly to addressing the report in the media recently about the affairs of the office that I'm requested to hold by the President. It is time that the public hears an honest account directly from myself. There has been several media allegations by the independent media, the independent newspaper, purporting, amongst other things, that I, Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams, interferes in the procurement decisions and processes of the South African Post Office, and that my family members also interfere in a similar manner at both the Post Office and Usaasa. The last one was saying Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams breaks the law again. Perhaps let me start by emphasizing the fact that I am committed and in full support of the role of media played during our dark days and into our new and young democracy. It was the heroic roles of men and women in the media who held the previous regime to account, and as a minister in a democratic government, I am more than willing and humbled to be held to account even more. However, with every crucial mandate comes serious responsibility and accountability. As such, our media houses and personnel alike always have a duty to act and report ethically and responsibly. And I know that I speak on behalf of all South Africans when I say I expect such high standards with nothing more or less. The importance of ethical journalism cannot be overstated. Although in the beginning I did not want to respond to all these allegations, given their frivolous and baseless nature, and generally due to my respect for the freedom of the press, it is now clear that the attack is not only malicious and meant to be defamatory, but the attacks are systematic. And it is for that reason that I have decided to take the opportunity of this platform to set the record straight. I wish to categorically state that all these allegations are baseless, unfounded, and devoid of any truth. The engagements that I had with the board of the post office were and continue to be within the parameters of the law. As it is common knowledge, the law requires me to engage the board of the post office and others that I'm responsible for on management issues from time to time. Maybe this is something that has never been seen. Therefore, in these engagements with the board, we have always discussed only issues within my legal purview, amongst them governance issues and other strategic matters on which the board requires my input and direction. I state firmly that in these engagements we have never discussed the appointment of service providers as reported by some of the media houses, of any other such defamatory issues as alleged by the said media house. Even more, it is disappointing that the said media house repeatedly and blatantly ignores and disregard our factual response to their allegations. For instance, on the two service providers I'm alleged to have imposed onto the post office and the post bank, and the two service providers allegedly being the Blue Label Telecoms and Dr. Ncaba's Africa COVID-19 platform. I have responded in writing on both of these allegations, and stated that at no stage did I ever seek to have either of these entities appointed by the post office or post bank. In addition, the post office, post bank, and the department have also responded in writing independently of my office, refuting these allegations as false and without any merit whatsoever. But the media house decided to proceed with their unsubstantiated story nevertheless, clearly intended to distort my image to the public. I have asked the chairperson of the post office to be present here. I have also asked the Deputy Director General in the department responsible for international relations, whom were involved in the work that we are talking about, to talk to yourselves, because I am the one that is affected. You may think that I'm here to protect myself, but as I said earlier, I'm here to set the record straight. And they will speak to you directly, and they will respond to the questions that you will be asking. To demonstrate my clean conscience, as you have had, I voluntarily appeared before the Integrity Commission of the governing party, which is the party that has deployed me to government. I don't want to conflating issues to say, why does she report about the ANC processes? I am a member of the ANC first. I go to parliament through the ticket of the ANC. I come to the executive as the deployee of the ANC. It therefore becomes very crucial for myself as the ANC deployee to make sure that at all times I hold the position that they have tasked me to hold, accountable so and responsible so. That is why I appeared, I requested to appear, and I hope they will announce their comments and observations of our interactions. As I'm speaking about this once more, I want to state to all of us, those that are seated at home and those that I'm with here, that it is important that if we want to expose the rot that is in our government and our deployees, we do so accordingly. Gunning for media headlines does not solve the problem of corruption. But us acting responsibly so, like patriotic citizens that we are supposed to be, is what will help us combat corruption in South Africa. That means if you have any evidence of Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams bringing a service provider and instructing any agency under the responsibility, under the portfolio that she's responsible for, go to the law enforcement agents. We shouldn't be gossiping about corruption that destroys the fiber of our society. Corruption that makes us not to be able to deliver on the commitments and the promises to our people. Corruption that is the one that causes all the havoc and anarchy whilst our people still go home hungry. If we are honest, as those that are responsible in the battle of ideas, we should make sure that we have written an article, indeed, correctly so, when we are given information. But in our investigation, let's follow it to the latter, that action is taken and people are exposed for who they are. It doesn't help, fellow South Africans, to behave like, the drive-through environment when you go and buy food at McDonald's. You don't check. All you do is to say, I want this burger with this and that. And then you drive because another one after you must come and buy. And then when you realize upon arrival at the place that you were going to, hey, they do not put tomato sauce. They do not put the right chips that I ordered. And you only realize when you're at home, we shouldn't be behaving like that. Media and all the platforms that we have a serious responsibility in this country. That of educating our people, entertaining our people, and informing them, including instilling hope to the hopeless. And that's done by giving fair information and balanced. Not to take sides with Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams. That's why I didn't come and defend myself. Because I said I'm the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies. I have a responsibility to respect freedom of press. But where I see that it's really untoward, we have a responsibility to say, we call upon you, journalists and editors of the media houses, to act responsibly in the affairs of our country, in the interest of our ordinary people, not for Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams. I always tell people that I work with that we're not here to make friends. We're not here to be liked, but we are here to serve the people of South Africa that have given us a mandate to go and make policies and legislations that can improve their lives, both socially and economically. And when we do this work that we do in our space, we should always have that at the back of our minds. That is why I'm encouraging all of you, those that are in the media space or in the communication space, to continue writing. But it is also important that you make sure that you provide facts. The fact that some of you do not subscribe to particular organizations that must hold them accountable does not give them the right to do as they please in destroying the moral fiber of journalism. 2 weeks ago, we delivered a political lecture on Robert Gesha. And we're talking about the values that he stood for. There's many journalists, as you know, that have done good work and are continuing to do work. But at the same time, we have a responsibility to talk against those that forget why are they in this business. It's okay to want to play a particular agenda, but don't forget the bigger agenda that yours is to educate, entertain, and inform. As you continue to broadcast, as you continue to write, let's make sure that we do good and we all remain responsible in the areas of responsibilities that we are given on. I thank you. I would invite the ADG to then invite the chairperson of Post Office, or we'll wait for your questions, but she's here. And as I said, we also have DDG Nongobela Jordan Jan, who is the Deputy Director General that introduced the matter that now I'm accused of bringing a service provider for a 2.2 billion. They don't even ask where does that money come from. They wrote stories that you don't have money, but in the same media they write that there's 2.2 billion tender. But nevertheless, the DDG that introduced the memo is also available virtually. She's here to explain and take whatever questions in relation to the two matters. And as I said, I've availed them here and brought them here because I want you to hear the truth from the people who are involved. Mine is the minister, which means I am the policy maker. I don't get involved in operations, whilst I'm given a responsibility to provide oversight over the 11 entities and the department that I spoke about, but I cannot go and replace the work of the people that are hired to do the work. Mine is to make sure that as we get feedback, the policy intent finds expression, and indeed our people's life are changed through the work that they're hired to do. Thank you so much. ADG, over to you.
Thank you very much, Minister, for that briefing. Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to allow questions from here, the journalists that are present in this room, and then I'll allow Mr. Ms Mccobell to read out the questions that are coming from the WhatsApp line. Over to you. Please introduce yourself and which media house do you represent?
From SABC TV News, Good Day Minister, and all the officials are here. I've got a few questions. One, you sounded a bit emotional there, saying the allegations against you being corrupt and allegedly interfering with procurement processes are baseless and frivolous. So do you believe this is part of a particular attack against you? Why do you think these allegations keep coming up against your name? Two, you mentioned that the SABC has received its funding. Are you happy with how it's handling its businesses so far? I know that there are reports that the public broadcaster, obviously, yourself as a shareholder, that it has to give to yourself. Are you happy with how SABC is handling things right now? What about the process that SABC announced to our staff earlier of possibly retrenching staff? Where do you stand on that at this point in time? And thirdly, you announced that your WhatsApp account was hacked. And that confidential information was possibly leaked. Is there any serious information that's now in the hands of the third parties who might be hacking your WhatsApp? Can you just give us some clarity as to what's going on with your WhatsApp? Thank you.
Thank you. Another question? From here? Okay. Nish, do you have questions from your side?
Yes, we do have questions, Minister, and Acting DG. Was like this one? Thanks. Thank you, Minister and the Acting DG and the Acting Chairperson of the Board. We do have the two questions from the WhatsApp line. Evanly Morris from the Caxton Media local media house in Durban, asking a questions. She has two questions. One is that what measures are being put in place to those with less access to technology don't get left behind, i.e. the rural areas. The second question is that when can we expect to see a reduction in the price of mobile data? If you allow me, Acting Director General, just to go to the questions of the Business Day, the political editor there says, Minister, you are in a legal battle with the former South African Post Office Board Chairperson, Ms Mccobell, who is challenging her demotion from the position. She has made same allegations of interference and abuse of power you have addressed today in court papers. Are you challenging this court application and her allegations, and have you filed any response yet? Ms Mccobell is still on SAPO board. Will she remain on the board despite these allegations she is making in the court application? That's two questions that we have from the WhatsApp line, Minister.
All right. Thank you very much. I invite Minister to come over. Just Minister, before Minister comes over and asks response to the question, maybe just to clear some of the questions, Minister, on the, especially the SABC one on the bailout. I know Minister has delegated a team led by myself and DDG Shelembe to monitor how SABC utilizes the bailout of the 3.2 billion. That's the first thing. And then in this respect, we do give feedback to the SABC as to how they are utilizing the funds. The team comprises of ourselves, I think Minister, you did allude to it even last year, comprises of the DCDT, National Treasury, and the SABC. So it's a high level as to how the amount is being spent and whether on the commitments that they were given to them on their obligations and conditions, they are meeting them. So in this respect, I just wanted to clear that, Minister, that because I know you've delegated it to us. So Minister, I'll actually ask you to come to the podium and respond to the questions. And thank you very much.
Can I have the sanitizer, please? Thank you so much. All right, colleagues, thank you for the questions. SABC says, I got emotional when I was talking to baseless accusations. Why do I think there are accusations? Why do I think there are accusations made against me? And why are they consistent? I think that's what you said. All right, to start with, I'm a politician, an activist, and a public figure. Therefore, there may be, as and when needs arise, there may be conflicts in how we do our work. But of course, I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, like, I'm Stella Ndabeni at the end of the day. I've always been challenged and attacked. It's just that now it's exciting that it's in the media. So for me, those attacks are nothing new. It's something that I'm used to as a politician. All politicians will tell you. That's what we go through. So I see those as one of those. Whoever that is driving them, they must continue their work. I have no time to be focusing on that. That's why it has taken me this long to come to this platform. I have a serious responsibility to find expression to that President Ramaphosa gave me responsibility over, to make sure that I connect the unconnected people of South Africa, to make sure that the fourth industrial revolution that we are saying presents opportunity to people of South Africa, indeed it presents them with an opportunity and change how things have been done. If in the process of doing that, of making sure that we're trying to address the imbalances of the past, and we're trying to make sure that we accommodate the previously disadvantaged, I happen to offend any of those that may be offended, I apologize in advance. But to say you're still going to be offended, because mine is a commitment to ensuring that I empower the people of South Africa in the area that I'm deployed in by both my organization and President Ramaphosa, and I will not abandon that task. I owe it not only to my generation, but also to the people of South Africa and those that came before us, to make sure that the baton they handed over finds expression in ensuring that it delivers economic freedom for all, not for few. So that's my take. I don't know why they are attacking me. I'm not bothered much. It bothers me that they're misleading people. It bothers me that they're breaking the ethics of journalism. But it doesn't bother me as a person because, as I said, at the end of the day, I'm not here to be liked by anyone. In the work that I do, there are those that will like me. There are those that will dislike me. And I welcome all because it is my responsibility to serve both those that like me and those that hate me, as long as they hate me for the work that I'm doing. And as I said, I'm going to continue with the work that I'm asked to do. Am I happy with the SABC handling of funds? The ADG has responded to that. And then you further went to an extent of asking about the Section 189 that SABC introduced. We did issue a statement in relation to that. As any responsible government, it is our responsibility that we make sure that we avoid getting people out of jobs. That is why I said we may be doing things that have not been done to the extent that we're doing them as the department currently, to make sure that we're effective on oversight. And the reason for that is for us to be able to pick up on anything that may be harmful to the strategic intent that we want to achieve as government. And the first thing that we have to do as government is to create an enabling environment for the people of South Africa to thrive economically and otherwise. That means people must remain at jobs. Does it mean that we shouldn't act when there are wrongs that have been done in that process? We give those that are responsible to act on those. But all we are saying, you cannot sleep and wake up and you want to just retrench people. A clear plan, as we had said when I came to this portfolio in 2018, a clear plan is required. When we approved the SABC turnaround strategy, we were clear on what is referred to, what is it called, the staff optimization. And the processes that must be followed. Fortunately, I want to state here, as we engage all the stakeholders that are involved in this process, all of them do have an appreciation of where SABC is currently, do have an appreciation of the challenges that SABC has. But all of us agree there's a need to engage all of us when we take these decisions, so that we may try to find solutions where we can, and where we cannot, then we can engage with those that are affected on what processes and steps must be taken. That is where we stand. On the issue of the WhatsApp hack, I'm sure all of you have been waiting. I hear even on the WhatsApp groups, others were saying, hey, we hear the news, hey, we hear this and that. I know you may be disappointed. As the people in this platform, surely you would have seen if there was anything untoward. But of course, you will find naughty messages between myself and my husband in those WhatsApps, because we do get to communicate, and that you will get. But in terms of anything illegally, I doubt there will be any, unless you interpret me flirting with my husband as an illegal issue. And of course, those that are engaged within a professional environment, it will be me engaging with them on that professional environment, which is why I keep them, as you will see if you have access to them. And yes, this is something that we are saying, we looking at everyone in terms of the security of information that we're talking about. We're warning everyone. WhatsApp has this message that that we sign up for, that messages are encrypted from end to end, and therefore if hacks happen, then we still have to engage with the platform owners to say where may be the gaps. Although we have a full appreciation that to hackers, this is a game. They will hack anything because it's about the game they play in terms of the software development and everything that they do. So to beat the other net, it makes sense for them. And therefore, that's why we always say the platform owners must always make sure that they look into the security features of the platforms that they provide to people. What measures have we put in place to ensure that those that don't have access to technology are not left behind? On the 8 recommendations that I mentioned, they also look at this. But of course, as the department, we've gone further than just create or developing policies. We have said it's high time that we lead by example, that even if it's at the educational sector, when we say education these days is offered on the online platforms, let's lead by example. That's why you've seen us providing laptops. That's why you've seen us talking to operators to zero rate the contents, amongst other things, because we want people to be exposed to these technologies. Because once people are exposed to technologies, they don't even have to wait for government. They know what to do, because it's about an enabling environment for them to derive economic spin-off on that we do. Right now, I spoke about the 50,000 that we'll be training. Part of that is to ensure, because not everyone, that's an online program, not everyone will have access to the data that, as you were saying, others, they were talking about data costs, and then access to the device itself. So the collaboration, and I want to thank the industry for this. Our industry has been so supportive, working hand in hand with the department and the ministry. The collaboration that we have had, it is the industry that provided the laptops to those students that we're talking about. It is the industry that said, Minister, we'll meet you halfway and zero rate the content. And we've partnered with other individuals that have also come on board to say, indeed, we really have to bridge the digital divide. I spoke earlier of the release of spectrum, the process that has started. and it is coupled with the broadband rollout that I spoke about earlier in terms of the infrastructure that I referred to. So all of these things are an ecosystem. It is not a one step that will make you be a digital citizen. It requires all the components to come together for one to be able to have access, because you can have access to technology, but if you don't know what to use or how to use it, then it's not of advantage. The legal battle with Ms Mccobell. I said earlier again in my presentation, I said anyone who suspects or who has evidence of any criminal activity, including undermining of the governance protocols, should report those to the law enforcement agencies if they require so. So Ms Mccobell has exercised her right by going to the courts, and indeed we have filed a notice to defend. We have Advocate Butlander who's dealing with the matter, and as you know, in matters before the court, I cannot then go into details until we meet in court, and we will announce the results of that we're in court about. I think I have responded to all the questions that were sent to me. Mish?
Minister, there's one question from Sophie Mukwena, SABC. The question is as follows. COVID-19 has demonstrated that the world is connected and flow of information is key, but access to the internet is still a challenge. Data is way too expensive. How far is the process of making data affordable and internet access?
I guess this was the question that was asked before I responded to it. I made reference to the release of spectrum that will also help fast track the process of reducing the cost to communicate, which relates to data costs. I made mention of the fact that we also from our side trying to roll out broadband, which I'm pleased to report to you that the feasibility study that is being done by DBSA is about to be concluded. They said December, but the team informed me that by November they will have a clear way forward, and we will, as the department, be establishing a PMO looking at broadband, which is something, again, we're saying the rollout of broadband or connecting the unconnected is not a sole function for the state or for government. So we will be working hand in hand with the private sector to make sure that we connect the unconnected. And key to the release of the spectrum, if you look into the ITA, the conditions and everything, when we introduced the one, we did talk about the areas where we think there will be market that is created, but most importantly, we see it as a vehicle that will help us bridge the digital divide that we are talking about. My boss, President Ramaphosa, has made it so clear that he doesn't want to see inequalities during his time of leadership in South Africa. Inequalities that would mean that because you are in the suburbia, therefore you have better connectivity. And when I'm seated at Kunu, Sakela at home, I have poor connectivity, because when we deploy the services that we'll be deploying at government level, they will be the same service. We're not going to say we're then deploying virtual classrooms for education and then we say, no, now you must use this platform, it must be different. It has to be the same platform. If you were saying, as I said earlier, we're digitizing the postal services in post office in order to position it to be an e-commerce platform, it means the beneficiaries of the social grants, wherever they are, they should be able to access whatever technology in terms of them getting access to the postal services that will be digitized. And that's the commitment that we have made, and I said I have no choice but to deliver on that. Otherwise, I don't want to displease my boss and not implement that. It's not something that's going to be done by me as an individual. It is something that will be done by the collective, as I said, the collaboration that we have as the department with our industry. I want to emphasize this. It's really helpful. We've seen it during the COVID period. Not much resources were spent from the department, but it is the industry itself that drove the process. And I said, I want to applaud them for that support that they've given us, and they continue to give us. Even on the broadband rollout, we are aware that the minute they get the spectrum, they will attend to the things that we've engaged on that are priorities. And key to that is to make sure that data is not only accessible, but also affordable to the millions of South Africa. Thank you, ADJ.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, Minister has responded. I do not know if there are any follow-up questions. I'll start again from the House. And we do realize that we have the acting chairperson of SAPO here, and also we will respond from the department point of view insofar as any other questions pertaining to the meeting that was referred to by Minister. And if there are no questions from this podium, I will ask Mish, are there questions on the WhatsApp group, or must we wrap up?
Yeah, we do three. I think we'll take the last three.
Okay.
I've got a question from Simnikiwe at IT Web. Says, Minister, can the Minister please elaborate on the appointment of Sentech and project manager for the digital migration project? What is Usaasa role now in the project? Then there's a question from Jacaranda. I'm getting to that question now. Okay, the question is as follows from Jacaranda. It says, how much is the SABC funding? And the other one is that how long will the state digital company take to be established? And we have the last question from, I think that's all, Minister, for now.
All right, thank you very much. I'm still free. Dear. So as Minister will come over to respond to those questions. And as I think she's given a lot of background in so far as the digital migration program, and especially the work that has been done by Usaasa and Sentech in this respect. And she will just respond to Simnike's question as to what will be the role of Usaasa, which I thought you did respond to earlier, Minister, but you'll just re-emphasize it at this point. Thank you very much. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you so much, ADG, and thank you to those that asked the questions. Sentech project manager for the BDM, what therefore becomes the role of Usaasa. Usaasa is the funding organization or is the project sponsor in relation to the BDM. Sentech will be assisting on the project managing of the project in terms of the installations. As you may be aware, if you are, that we have experienced lots of challenges in terms of the rollout of the set-top boxes, whereby at times we brought installers from Joburg and we took them to Ekoza in the Eastern Cape, and then when they are faulty, people don't know where to go to. So we got Sentech from our side to project manage that and make sure that they get local installers so that people can have access immediately if there's any challenge that arises out of the installation. Usaasa, as I said, they remain the project sponsor. How much is the SABC funding? I guess she's referring to the bailout, which was 3.2 billion. Yes, that's the amount. How long is it going to take for the establishment of the infrastructure company? I did say finally now we have the business case that is approved and we are awaiting processes to take it to cabinet. All we have to do in the establishment of the infrastructure company is to amend the existing legislation from the Broadband Infraco side in order to include Sentech's responsibilities in the infrastructure company that we are establishing. I am shocked, let me say. I thought you would take interest in the 2.2 billion that I'm involved in, but I don't see anyone ask me about that except my emotions when I spoke about it, because as I said, we have brought the people who talk about it. That's why I emphasize the need for fair reporting or balanced reporting, because people have read the lies in the papers that we are procuring. I have the chairperson of the post office here with me, and I also have the Deputy Director General who introduced an initiative that is being mentioned slightly in the article, which I believe is what led to the lies that were written in the paper. I'm now going to use my own powers and invite Ms. Tia to come and talk to you what transpired on the day of the presentation that is referred to in the 2.2 billion article that was written about. After her, I will invite the Deputy Director General to give the background of what they brought to the minister that led to the presentation that was done. I don't know if I must start with the DDG. Oh, the ADG will take that. Tia, please occupy the floor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Minister. I'm going to hack it and maybe answer a few more questions that hasn't been asked as well, if you would allow me, please. So first of all, with regards to the article in the on the 2nd of October in the Star, that titled Ndabeni-Abrahams accused of sneaking in businessman in 2.1 billion tender is concerned. In my tenure from the 25th of October, I can confirm that we have never seen these values in terms of procurement processes that has come to the board with regards to either the e-commerce or any other related tender. And if I may, Minister, if we had that money, I think we would have much less problems. So yes, I think it should be noted that we would have loved that money. I can confirm that to date the Post Office have never in the past financial year and current issued a tender related or unrelated to e-commerce for the value of 2.1 billion. I believe that these allegations is made by scrupulous and malicious individuals. I've also noted that these individuals are attacking the Post Office in conjunction with the Minister, as well as the acting CEO, and I'll come to that as well. I can confirm that Minister Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams did not interfere with any procurement processes in the Post Office, and she did not put any pressure on the Post Office to use any specific service provider. The article is wildly inaccurate, and we reiterate that we have never been contracts or tenders in the past and in recent months that comes close to the alleged value mentioned in the Star newspaper. In addition to that, I want to mention that in the special general meeting on the 7th of August, the Minister categorically asked the board to indicate if they are aware of her meddling inappropriately in the affairs of the SAPO. No board member indicated same, and I take note that 2 board members were in the invitation for the update on the e-commerce that were referred to in the article. It would be noted that the recording of that meeting, that special general meeting on the 7th of August, was leaked to the media, but because it does not suit the storyline, it was not reported. These reports appear to be written using information leaked by a disgruntled Post Office official with malicious intent to mislead the public. The Post Office is investigating the source of the malicious information fed to the media. I would like to use this opportunity about the allegations that's out there that SAPO is unhappy with the secondment of the official from the department to act whilst the recruitment of the group CEO is being concluded. This allegation is unfounded in that the secondment of the official was in response to the board's request to the ministry. The views that the official was forced on the board of SAPO is untrue, and it can only reflect the views of the disgruntled Post Office official and does not in any way reflect the views of the board. The board has the highest regard for the professionalism and integrity of the current acting group CEO. Minister, you've spoken about the stabilization of SAPO. If I can just touch on that. Mr. Ramakumba has started on the 1st of October. He's the group CFO. And then the appointment of the group CEO is definitely in the final stages. You should receive a letter soon, Minister. And then also the Minister has indicated that the board complement has been replenished, adding to the governance of SAPO. Thank you. I hope that clears it.
Thank you very much for that. I am going to read the statement as written by the DDG Mccobell Jordan Jani in this respect, because she is the one that actually organized this meeting. The department would like to place on record that the article is misleading and misconstruction of the order of events. The ICT International Affairs and Trade branch, which is the branch that is led by Mrs. Jani, in April 2020 came across information that Dr. Ngaba and a group of young tech entrepreneurs had developed a platform called Combat COVID Africa. Following a discussion with counterparts at DERCO, the DDG Ms Mccobell Jordan Jani facilitated a meeting with Dr. Ngaba and team to obtain further information. This information was then presented to DC. DC is the Departmental Executive Committee chaired by myself and other structures within the department. As well, it was also sent to the African Telecommunications Union and Smart Africa. These two organizations are responsible for ensuring that we actually collaborate at a continental level, that is R2 and Smart Africa. All parties interrogated the proposal and saw value. And then the department actually decided to support it as well, because the platform utilized the latest technologies and was meant to address challenges posed by COVID. And then there was no financial commitment and or payment needed but to be put by the department, entities, or countries participating. South Africa is not the only one. The department then, through the office of the DG, submitted a memo to the minister to formally request endorsement and for onwarding table of platform to the higher structure of government dealing with the COVID. In this regard, the department identified 3 opportunities to leverage on the Combat COVID Africa platform that will also have a positive impact on the programs run by the department, as well as impact that will benefit South Africans. These were accelerating digital skills through Africa, advancing the SAPO e-commerce and leveraging of wider footprint of the platform, and assisting SMMEs in South Africa to market their digital skills and innovation solutions to a wider audience in Africa. These were existing projects already in our departments and or entities' business plans such as SAPO. SAPO, as you may or may not be aware, has been working on an e-commerce platform as part of its turnaround strategy. The international branch has been assisting SAPO in positioning itself as a regional hub insofar as e-commerce. The department has been engaging SAPO on this regard since 2017, and there have been regular engagements, and you can imagine that because it was since 2017, progress was not coming through. So by April this year, SAPO indicated that they had a model in place and that they were ready to roll out by July 2020. So we, as the department officials, saw an opportunity for SAPO to use this combat COVID-19 platform to expand reach. When we say expand reach, we mean across Africa. In this regard, the department arranged 3 meetings with SAPO in July to assess the state of readiness and to put forward the suggestion to consider using Combat COVID Africa platform. The last of these meetings was attended by the minister and the SAPO board. At no time was there ever an offer made by Dr. Ngaba to sell services to SAPO, as the Combat COVID Africa platform was a free of charge of use service. The department has never put to SAPO to change its e-commerce commercial agreement. The only offer put by the department official was for SAPO to consider using this platform as an added over-the-top platform so they can take advantage of a wider footprint of 39 countries and the diaspora, as this will be fully made available a platform. So in the allegations that the minister forced Dr. Ngaba onto SAPO e-commerce project is denied by the department in the strongest sense. SAPO has not issued any tender on e-commerce project, rather had in March issued a request for information. The department does not involve itself in the procurement processes of its entities. So this is where we are, ladies and gentlemen, that we wanted to just set the record straight that the meeting started from the department. As the department, we requested that the minister endorses that we actually reach out and to combat Africa COVID, so that we are able to utilize the service that is free of charge. The amount of 2.2 billion, as you can imagine, the state that not only SAPO finds itself, also that South Africa we find ourselves. There is not even possible that an amount of 2.2 billion can be paid to any entity as things stand. With that, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I wanted to read out from DDG Jordan Jan from the department. So I do not know if there's any follow-up questions, then I will close. I don't see any questions. I would like to thank the members. Mish, from your side?
No, there aren't any further questions.
There are no. Oh, all right, thank you. I would like to thank the members of the media for being here and availing yourselves to come here. As well, I would thank the minister and the acting chairperson of SAPO for coming through at such a short notice. And in this regard, everyone that is watching at home and watching on YouTube, thank you very much. The press conference came to an end. Thank you.